So just to get this clear, this meeting is not my idea. We are meant to do this by the canons and constitutions of the Episcopal Church. The church means that once a year we will gather and consider where we have been as a community and where we are heading. So we're going to do church business this morning. This makes you anxious at the very idea of how long and tedious this might be. Know that we have been thoughtful about this and we have adjusted things a bit, so the service won't go over by much, if at all. It will go like this. I'm going to speak for a few minutes about this church, about who we are finding ourselves called to be in this moment in history. And then some people who are digging in here deeply, but not all of the many people digging in here deeply, are going to report on our work in 2019. And others are going to invite you deeply into the life of this place in 2020. Then we will say our prayers. And then we're going to share the sacred meal around this table. And then we're going to go and enjoy being a community together and share a meal in the parish hall. There is food enough for everyone, whether you brought something or not. And when we get to that meal, I hope that you will sit by someone you don't know so well. In today's gospel, Jesus says, "Do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill." Jesus was not about doing away with Jewish law, the way things had been, the way the community had organized itself. Let us be clear that Jewish law is the foundation of our own faith. Jesus did not come to abolish it. He wasn't interested in doing away with Judaism. Just the opposite. He was about getting to the very heart of Judaism. He called the people not to sit on the periphery of their faith, but to walk into the very center of it. Christendom in the West has oriented itself in the direction of its doctrines, what we must believe to belong. The problem with that orientation is not the doctrines themselves. The problem is that the beliefs become the thing itself. What we believe is only meant to guide us to what is. Our beliefs are not what is. The law of Judaism was not the thing. It was meant to lead Israel into the heart of God. Jesus had no interest in abolishing the law. He just knew that it was not the final destination of the faith. It was the scaffolding of it. I have worked or otherwise been involved in a dozen Episcopal churches. What is happening in this church I have not experienced before. This is a community of people hearing the call of the Christ, not sitting on the periphery of the faith. You are walking into the center of it, which means that we are all together walking deeply, not into another realm, but into this realm. We understand this at St. James. Our experience of God is as deep as our experience of being human in the world. We are walking into the incarnation of who we are. We are excavating these lives we live because we recognize them as holy material. There are a myriad of ways this is happening. You are committing yourselves to deep study of the wisdom traditions, listening deeply to this faith, and also listening to the voices outside of this faith that can inform us. You are engaging in spiritual direction and contemplative prayer and worship and embodied prayers of healing and anointing and laying on of hands and yoga in this space and Tai Chi and Zumba. You are walking deeply inside and also, as Jesus showed the way, outside into the world, caring for our elders at Highland Farms and the poor at the Swannanoa Valley Christian Ministry and the hungry at Bounty and Soul and Food Connection. And God bless you, Gail Flickinger, who is not here today. Nearly every Sunday you bring a woman from the correctional center to church so that she might experience not how much she is rejected by the world, but how much she is embraced. Albert Einstein was asked if he believed in God, and he said, "I do not believe, I know." I'm going to make up a word this morning here at St. James. Knowings. A knowing isn't a fact so much as a truth. And they come from experience as much as they come from anything rational. I think we have a trinity of knowings bubbling up at St. James. 3 things that are distinct, and yet they are also all mushed up together. They did not originate here. They are as old as our tradition, if less emphasized. But they are emerging here. 1, it is a knowing in this place that we are not born cut off from God, but that our very DNA is of God. And that DNA is not just in us fancy humans, but in all of creation. So, the world is imbued with the Spirit of God. We know that in this place. It is a knowing that Jesus' death was for the cause of love, less sin. That Jesus is not so much a doctrine of salvation for some, but an experience of love for all. That's a knowing. Perfect timing. It is a knowing that our individualism is bound up with our connection. We are rooted and connected one to another more than anything we have ever imagined. This is what is on the sign at the front of the church, and this is the work of the Spirit of God. And these knowings, because we know these things, we are the light of the world in this place. Jesus came to walk us into the center, into the heart of God, which is a fluffy way of saying Jesus came to walk us into the deep practice of love. G.K. Chesterton, in a piece called The Unfinished Temple, wrote, "The Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried." Megan Watterson said it this way: "We are after a Christianity that has yet been tried." We are not sitting on the periphery in this parish. We are doing the difficult thing here, which is walking toward the center of the faith. You are bringing your lives here and putting them on this table. And you are bringing people with you. This church is living. It is not dying. Betty Tigner has a St. James bumper sticker on her car. If you don't know it, you can get one outside there on the table. It says, we know it. If it's not about love, it's not about God. Words of our presiding bishop, Michael Curry. Betty was shopping in Ingalls, Black Mountain Ingalls, and she came out to find a note on her car. It said, "Way to go, St. James." I have no interest in growing a church for the sake of growing a church. But I am all in for driving the bus into the heart of God, which is the expansion of love that Jesus demonstrated and lives in us. Are you with me? Yes. I was scared to do that. And because we know our world is broken, and we know that more than anything, this world needs a spiritual awakening. And if not us, then who? Are you in? Yes. Because this ride is going to be wild, and it can't happen without you. This is a church going deep in here as we continue and go deeper also into the world. I want you to think of yourself for a moment like the investors on Shark Tank. Does everybody know the show? Okay. You have some spiritual capital, and you need to invest it. You're going to hear some pitches here in a few minutes about how you can invest in this place, which is not just investing in this place. This is investing in your own life, and this is an investment in the world. I cannot do this without you. We cannot do this without one another. For the sake of heaven, God cannot do this without us. So I invite you to listen to these pitches and discern where your gifts are for this church and for yourself. And then you can sign on for the ride. There are sign-up sheets in the narthex, and there's sign-up sheets in that big room. I get to give the first pitch. Here it goes. The Sunday service is the center point of everything that happens at St. James. If we don't get it right in here, it's not going to get right out there. This is our orienting thing. When I was a child, you either went to children's church, or when you got where you could sit still enough, you were allowed to go to big church. Big church is where we come together and collect ourselves as a community. It takes 18 people to make this party right here happen. That doesn't count the choir. Some of you are invisible. You are fairies that drop in and do your work when no one is around. We don't see you, but we feel you. And we are grateful guests at the table of your hospitality. So, do you have a nice voice? Then sign up to read. Can you set a table? Do you appreciate a cloth napkin and a tablecloth? The Altar Guild sets the holy table, and we desperately need small teams to help us prepare it week after week. Acolytes, what a great thing. You get to carry fire. And you do not have to know how to arrange flowers to be on the Flower Guild. You just have to love them. We will teach you the rest. So you can learn more about these things and sign up for the worship things right outside those big doors. Last thing, I want to thank the 2019 vestry, and you're going to meet them in a minute. Our treasurer and clerk, the 2019 foundation trustees, and the amazing parish staff, the head of our guilds. These leaders are the scaffolding of this place. I know what they do for us. You don't see it all. And with me and in your heart, we bow to them. Deep bow. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to come back in a minute, but I'm going to call on Bob Watts for the 2019 Senior Wardens Report.
First of all, she's a hard act to follow.
What?
You're a hard act to follow.
Oh.
Yeah. And I want to thank Judith and the vestry for giving me the opportunity to serve as senior warden this last year. It's been a very interesting year. We've had a good time, so thank you. That's her choice. Also want to thank Tom. Where's Tom Hallbrook? Gail, I don't think's here. I don't think Jill is here.
No, Jill's here.
Oh, where's Jill?
Stand up.
Hey, stand up, Jill. Stand up, Gail. We want to thank them for their 3 years on the vestry. They've brought a tremendous amount of background, tremendous amount of skill and knowledge, and we certainly appreciate that. Is Holly here? Come here, Holly. I want to introduce Holly as our new senior warden. Yay. The thing that I really appreciate about Holly, among a lot of things, is that she has the ability to take chaos and bring it to focus so we all know what we really are thinking about and really talking about.
Have you met my children?
I have met some of them. So, Holly, you can stand here for a minute. As a new senior warden, we want to talk about the solar system. The solar system is basically up and running. We're waiting on one part to come in, which will improve the efficiency. November power bill was $569. January's power bill was $330. So we're gaining on it. It will take us a year to really appreciate what it's doing. Part of the bill is fixed. Part of the bill we can have some influence over. And if you want to talk to me later, I'll give you details on some of those details. But it's working a bright sunny day today. We're generating more power than we're using. So all of this electricity is coming from the sun. Okay, we've got some work to do. We're recommending 3 candidates for the vestry for the next 3 years. If you're here, please stand. Walt Davis. I don't see Walt. Dan, if you can stand. that hurt. Sue Murray. Those are the 3 candidates we're recommending for the vestry next year. Hearing no objections, we will accept them by acclamation.
All in favor?
We are also recommending 2 candidates for the foundation. If you're here, please stand. Gary Tignor, Susie Berry, Burl. I'm going to blame that on Word. Word created that problem. So, with no objections, we'll. How many of you noticed that the sign's gone? What? You noticed that the sign's gone? If you've missed the sign down in front of the church, we've sent it off to have it repainted and repaired. It's not that we've thrown it away, so any questions about that? The next person I'd like to introduce is our new junior warden, Dick Weaver.
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming today. I'm going to talk about the building and grounds, basically what happened in the year 2019. But most of the things that got done in 2019 were set into motion in 2018 or possibly even 2017. The big item that Bob just spoke of was the solar panels. That's going to be a good thing for us and a good example to the rest of the community. The community room off the parish hall, what used to be basically a classroom or two classrooms, has been redone to make it a more versatile place. We think we can use it in a variety of ways. The closets off the parish hall, both of those have been reorganized and spruced up to benefit the Flower Guild and the Food Connection. Two Food Connections are one of our more recent outreach endeavors. The Flower Guild has been working really without a space to work in here for quite a while, and they can use that space to good purposes. We created new storage in the basement, what we're calling the basement, the large crawl space underneath this part of the church, for both our use and Bounty and Soul. We support Bounty and Soul. This past Tuesday, I came by and every single space in the lot was full, and people were parking on the sides where they're not really parking spaces. So they really appreciate this building. They appreciate us allowing them to use it, and I think we actively support that. Lastly, the vestry is actively engaged in the memorial garden, in redoing the memorial garden, making it a nicer, more formal place. And Tom Pattison is going to speak to that.
Cindy Rios is out of town. My name is Tom, here in her place, representing the Memorial Garden Committee. The Memorial Garden is just beyond those walls, for those of you who don't know, on the north slope of the property, and there lie many ashes of the members of this congregation. Last year, the vestry formed the Memorial Garden Committee and asked us to hire a landscape architect to renovate the garden. We hired Rachel Clegg of Black Mountain, met with her multiple times, and today are presenting this design to you on the big television screen in the community room off the fellowship hall. After the service, we hope you'll stay and take a look. The design is multifunctional and contains the following elements: landscape areas for meditation and internment of ashes, an area for small memorial services and weddings, a long, attractive border fence for visual and sound attenuation, and a 25-foot stone path diameter labyrinth, and a new bronze memorial triptych that contains the names of the dead. Myself and other members of this committee will be in the parish hall after the services to answer any questions. We are Betty Tigner, Lorraine Edwards, Kathy Atkinson, Mary Elizabeth Banks, M.E., Bruce Grobe, and Judith Whelchel. And I call on Joanne Haskamp for the treasurer's report.
There's only one thing that you ever really want to know about the bank account, right? We have the holy numbers today. In 2019, the vestry passed a budget that was reflecting the potential of a $7,000 deficit. And I'm pleased to say that we have ended 2019 with a perfectly balanced budget. When you move forward in faith, amazing things do happen. In 2020, our monetary needs are increasing. We need probably somewhere between $9,000 to $10,000 more than we had in the budget last year to accomplish the mission. And we had a good stewardship campaign that you will hear about. And I'm also pleased to say at the vestry meeting at the beginning of this month, the vestry just approved a balanced budget. Those two things together are very important. There's a lot that goes into it, but we're being brief here. For those of you who really love the numbers and want to dig deeper, I have them. They're 280 lines. I will be glad to talk to you if you're one of the people who really wants to know, well, how much do we pay for port and oil for the candles, or what does it take to clean the building, or whatever particular thing that you want to know. That information is always available. This parish is fully transparent on its finances. That's very important for you to know. And the place that you can find them after the reports are approved, so there's about a 30-day lag between the end of the month and the time the vestry gets them and approves them so that we can post them. But there's a small bulletin board outside the parish office that will always contain the current vestry minutes and the most recently approved budget if it is something that you want to track. Beyond that, I am always available to talk about these numbers. I have them. If you're somebody that I don't know or I do know, you can come sit by me. I would like to call on Laura Centers, who will report on the St. James Foundation.
Hi there, I'm Laura Centers. I served as chair on the Board of Trustees for the St. James Foundation for 2019. Our mission is to grow and invest the funds entrusted to it for the support of the religious purposes of St. James. This year, our investment account did grow. We approved 6 grants. They included funding for the David Lamont series, continued support for the Food Connection, upgrades to our sound system here in the sanctuary. We also supported our Deacon Christie's trip to the Triennial Diaconal Assembly. Did I get that right? Yes. Close. We supported our vestry in their outreach to our community nonprofits, and we also continued payments to the loan, no interest loan to the diocese. We, with the help of Bruce, have revamped some of our grant application and streamlined the process. And we have worked with the vestry on how best to support our nonprofits in our area. I want to thank Andrew Marsh and Betty Tigner for their years and work on this board, and welcome Susie and Gary to the board. David Gramley will follow me as chair, and Mark Clive will become treasurer for 2020. Abigail Moffitt and I will continue as trustees on this board. Thank you. And I call on Bruce for the stewardship report.
I was graciously given an extra 30 seconds because I was told that stewardship was going to be a tough team to sell. And I keep telling everybody that stewardship is actually a gift because we get invited to invite people to invest in what is most important in their life. Many of you know that I had a chance to work with Bishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa, and it was near the end of his time as bishop. And so I was doubly blessed by the fact that he was making more and more time in his life to sit with those around him and tell stories, which he is very good at. At some point, he asked a few of us who were with him what was important to each of us, and how did we know it was important? The second part, how did we know it was important, felt a little bit like a trick question, and I started to deep dive into whatever called by God theology I could bring to mind. I didn't get very far before he started his famous laugh, and I wish I could duplicate it, put up his hand and said, no. I believe that what is important is what you are willing to exchange your life energy for. What are you willing to exchange your life energy for? Judith reminds us again and again that our mission at St. James is encountering God's presence and incarnating that presence in our world. This annual meeting is our regular opportunity to strengthen that incarnate presence for its work in the coming years. We're here for a tune-up, to breathe deep, clear our vision, and synchronize our heartbeat with God's. At a time when we need the grounding of being in community and the support of being a part of community, St. James wants to be both and more. We want to be a church that irrigates our community with hope. This morning, we are here to ask ourselves, will we be a part of the work needed to get there? Can we be that incarnate presence of God's love to irrigate our community with grace-filled hope? And so I want to ask all of you, Bishop Tutu's question, what is important to you? What is it you are willing to invest your life energy in? Your time, your many various God-given talents, and your treasure. My heart tells me that for many of us, what is important is family, friends, and being in community, that we want to make a difference in this world, and that we are searching and finding our way along a spiritual journey, heading for the light to experience the presence of God's love in our lives. I believe God brings us here this morning and Sunday after Sunday to this place because here is where we find guidance and strength for the journey. Here is we find and experience what is important to us. We are blessed to be here this morning where we have a chance to invest our life energy in finding and experiencing God's presence. The primary purpose of the stewardship team is to help all of us invest our life energy in what is most important in our lives. Following this service, as you've heard in the parish hall, even if you can't stay for lunch, signing on to any of the ministry teams is to invest your life energy in what is most important to you. And so this brief prayer. From the power of our memory and history, with high hopes for the days that lie ahead, we gather in God's presence to craft the destiny we share with one another. We gather with faith, we gather with hearts and minds open, we gather in love. In our gathering, may we dream and design a bold future. May we bring our best selves to this service. May we dream these dreams and do this work with God's help and in God's love. Amen. And now I'd like to introduce Mandy Carter to talk about our parish life team.
Almost didn't make it up here. Good morning. I'm Mandy Carter. I'm grateful to have been a member here at St. James for about 18 years. There are so many things to love about St. James, but I see now, looking back, that plugging into different areas in our church life over these years has made my relationship with this place and the amazing people here and with myself so much richer. One way you can be involved here is to help us create and sustain this community. We have a Parish Life for Newcomers team that works to connect newcomers into the life of St. James. We also have a Parish Life team for hospitality that focuses on community events like coffee hours and receptions, bingo nights. There's signups for these at lunch on the table. Today, I'm also asking all of you to consider hosting a coffee hour or two during this calendar year. We're shifting this model to spread that load and to also let folks have a way to participate. I'm going to be asking you to sign up online during the lunch and after the lunch. And you can come and see me for that. And you'll also be getting a link in your newsletter for this. It's a really easy system, and it will send you a reminder for the date that you've signed up for. Next Sunday, John and Lila Farley will give us a tutorial on how to use the kitchen during coffee hour if you're nervous about the dishwasher, so we can cut down on disposable items as part of our earth care work. So please come see me before you leave today, and we can talk more about this. This is an easy way to help us connect with one another. I'd like to invite Luann Wilkes to come and speak about our children's ministry.
So I'm Luann Wilkes, and I'm the coordinator of the Godly Play program here. We work with ages 3 years old through 5th grade in Godly Play, and it happens during the
Sunday school hour right before the 10:30 service. And then during the 10:30 service, we're now offering, we just started it last year, Children's Chapel, and that we process out right before the gospel, and then we talk about the gospel in more developmentally appropriate terms and how it impacts their lives. And often we talk about issues that are affecting them and how to navigate them. And then both of those programs, I found that the children go into deep theological reflection. I know that might sound a little odd for a 3-year-old, but I've learned so much from them. And we want to continue this model of theological reflection into the middle and high school years. And so we're looking at a program that will pair that reflection with service and local projects and with annual service learning trips. We also have Camp Henry that we support, and it's a great opportunity for the children to be a part of, as well as for the high school. There's a Summa Theological Camp at the University of the South, and both of these programs have scholarships that are available to our children and young adults, I guess. We also want to make sure that you know that all of those that work with children here and youth at St. James are required to complete Safeguarding God's Children. We do protect our children here at St. James, and that's a really important part. I became involved at St. James because of Godly Play, but I stay involved because of you. I'm looking at Charlotte Arundel, and every day when she sees me on Sunday, she says, "I'm so glad to see you." And I know she means it. And when Eleanor says, "You're part of our family, Miss Luann," that makes me want to stay. It's you that I stay for, this community. You're not afraid to do the right thing. You accept people of all walks of life, and I feel that love and see God in you when I'm standing up here. I'm so blessed. You're the bright light, and I'm reminded when I look at you of Mother Teresa's words, "What I can do, you cannot, but what you do, I cannot. But together, we can do something beautiful for God," and that's this church. I call on Judith Whelchel to speak about the communication team.
Very briefly, there's so many wonderful things happening here. You know, there are these opportunities for worship, for Wednesday nights. We're hoping to start a new Bible study soon. We've got speakers coming. There's yoga and Zumba and Tai Chi, and none of that gets out in the world if we don't communicate it well. So there's a sign-up sheet for a communications team. If you have gifts around communication, if you get social media, I hope you'll sign up for it. Our hope, you know, we have this thing in the world right now where we've got some people that read the Black Mountain newspaper and some people that are online. We have some people that give to us by writing a paper check. We have other people who have it zipped over from their bank, and other people who want to give to us by their phone. So communication and connection in the world is coming at us from all different directions, and it's really important that we think through communications and how to do it well and thoroughly. So I invite anybody to be part of that team with me. Thank you. I'm calling on Christy Neal and Lucy Lawrence to talk about our justice and outreach team.
So in your baptismal vows, and we've got the baptismal font sitting right out here in front so you can remember, you promise to seek and serve Christ in all persons, loving your neighbor as yourself. Jesus called us to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and proclaim release to the captives. My job as the deacon of this church is to, and I promised this in my vows when Bishop Porter ordained me almost 14 years ago, you are to interpret to the church the needs, concerns, and hopes of the world. I'm the bridge. I want to help you find where your deep passions and gifts meet the heart of God. If you do not have a ministry in the world, please come see me. I can connect you with all kinds of places that need your help. And this church does a remarkable job of doing that. But there may be some of you who haven't found your niche yet. And that's what I'm here to do. And I'm going to remind you over and over again that our worship is here, but our service is out there. That's why I dismiss you on Sunday mornings.
Good morning, I'm Lucy Lawrence, and I joined St. James in May of last year after 16 years of living in Black Mountain and longing for a church home that could spiritually and biblically ground my commitment to social justice. I work at Warren Wilson College as a professor of social work, and in that role, I have been fortunate to get to do some innovative teaching and learning alongside my students. One example is that one class and I work with Loving Food Resources, a food pantry designed for people diagnosed with HIV and AIDS in our community to shop and select their own groceries. Another class is working with Mountain Area Residential Facilities, a nonprofit with 2 group homes for adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. And my students help facilitate their deeper involvement as valued members of the community. Another collaboration is with Asheville Poverty Initiative, where we are learning from the expertise of poverty scholars, people with lived experience of poverty. And this semester, my students are developing podcasts, interviewing poverty scholars about their lived experience. Since 2017, I have been part of Warren Wilson's Inside Out program, offering academic classes consisting of outside students who are from Warren Wilson College and inside students at the Swannanoa Correctional Center for Women. All classes take place at the prison, and all students receive a Warren Wilson College transcript. Having a professional background in international social work, I've also been privileged to lead 11 study abroad courses to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Cuba, Latvia, Sweden, and Tanzania. Through these global opportunities, I get to use my knowledge of intercultural development and my Spanish language skills. I'm here to invite you to be part of reflecting and discerning and calling forth opportunities for people of St. James to work for justice and peace in our world. In addition to deeply supporting existing important ministries at St. James, we will be considering new opportunities, including possible community engagement and mission trips. I invite you to consider being part of this team and signing up today in the parish hall. And I call on Dick Weaver to return to speak about the building team.
This fine house we live in as a community has been here close to 25 years. It's a great place, it's in good shape, and it constantly needs attention. We have a buildings team that, if you're so inclined, we would love to have you join us and help us take care of this place. There's always things to be done to improve, maintain, repair. Anybody that would like to help and join, I certainly hope you will sign up after church. Thank you.
Dick calls on Bill Haskamp.
I knew that. I was asked to speak on creation care. We at St. James harbor a strong love for the creation, for all of God's creation. But what exactly is creation care? It's more than renewable energy, our solar panels, or our conservation, our LED lights, automatic thermostats, automatic lights in our bathrooms. It's more than the wonderful food ministries that we support, Food Connection and Bounty and Soul. As Linda Allison, Elizabeth Snyder, Laura Murray, Susie Burrell, and I learned yesterday at a Creation Care workshop in Montreat, Creation Care also includes social and environmental justice, nature and children's ministries, climate change and health, and growth and development. I hope that you will choose to join us as we explore all of these areas of ministry. Thank you. I call on Sue Murray to speak about the grounds and gardens. Sorry.
I'm Sue Murray. I've been at St. James for almost 10 years, and in that time, involvement here has helped me grow my roots in the community. And I'm going to offer you a really down-to-earth way to do this. I do love a good pun. Doug would be proud of me, wouldn't he? I want you to be involved in making decisions about and caring for our grounds and gardens. It's going to be more important with the memorial garden and the meditation garden. And we're going to get our hands dirty, and probably our knees too. So we also keep our eyes open for what we need the professional crew to do. And so I'm going to invite you to get grubby for God and join this team. Thank you. And I'm not calling on anybody.
I have been blessed as a rector to be surrounded by these fabulous leaders. But the leaders are not the church. The church needs leaders, but the church needs all of us. To demonstrate who we are as a church, we're about to have communion. I don't want you to return to your seat after you have communion. If you are able, I want you to help me make a big circle in the space when you finish communion. Choir, you too. The way we sit in church sometimes makes us think that church all happens right here. Not by a long shot is that true. The church is happening in here. And we're going to make a big circle, and we're going to look to the center. You can gaze at the font. And we're going to look to the center to where we're going to go deep together in the coming months ahead. Let us pray.